It's time, New Zealand.
And the All Blacks await their date with destiny. Unbelievable! South Africa through to the final. And we'll run it back next week like 1995. The All Blacks will play South Africa for the Rugby World Cup final.
I don't think you can ever write the All Blacks off.
It is the greatest challenge that we have in Test rugby.
The conscience of the rivalry. It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be an amazing game.
I know we've probably surprised a few people, but I don't think we've surprised ourselves.
We play for each other and we play for South Africa so they can be proud of us.
Kia ora, I'm Chereè Kinnear and this is Beyond the Game. This is it, the Rugby World Cup final. Welcome into the New Zealand Herald's Rugby World Cup video news show. I'm joined by New Zealand Herald chief sports writer Liam Napier. We're outside the Paris Country Club where the All Blacks have just named their side to play this final against the Springboks. And we will get into some of Ian Foster's decisions shortly. But first of all, Liam, it's been a long road, but can you believe we finally made it?
No, it's been a wild ride for the All Blacks and I guess a long road for supporters, having to keep the faith along the way. They've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of criticism, a lot of ups and downs, peaks and troughs, but here they are 2 weeks after toppling the world's #1 team in Ireland, ending their 17-match winning run and now into a second World Cup final, 28 years on from their first against the Springboks.
Just one change for the All Blacks starting 15 this week. Brodie Retallick resumes his lock in combination with Scott Barrett. Sam Whitelock moves back to the bench, the opposite to what we saw in last week's semi-final against Argentina. Are you surprised by that call or did you expect it?
Yeah, not really. I think Brodie Retallick and Scott Barrett have predominantly been the first choice lock in combination for the All Blacks thus far this year. But I think probably the most significant change comes on the bench with Nepo Laulala coming in there for Fletcher Newell. Nepo is the All Blacks' best scrummaging tight heads. He's really renowned in that regard, and that's to try and counter Ox Niche, who's had a real impact for the Boks coming off the bench in recent weeks. There are a lot of rumours circling about Richie Mo'unga potentially being injured and maybe Beauden Barrett starting at 10, but that all proved to be hot air and Richie's good to go.
Thankfully, right? Well, we heard from Ian Foster earlier about some of his selections and how he was feeling about the final. So let's take a look at what he had to say.
It's certainly a response. It's not so much a response to the power, more the techniques that we think we're going to have to deal with. And Nepo is a very strong scrummager, very experienced, and he's trained so well. He's disappointed he probably didn't play the last two, but this is a great occasion for him. And alongside Samasoni with the likes of Sammy Whitelock on the bench, really believe we've got a lot of confidence in that group coming off. Right now we're trying to make sure we balance the control of the emotion of it versus, dealing with all the messages we're getting from home, and even people in France have been massive, and I have to thank them for an awesome support that we've had from the local people too. But managing all that so that we can just go out, put a smile on our face and play our game. And that's what we're focusing on. We know there's two great teams out there, different styles. They're great at their style, we want to be great at ours. The fact is we've got two teams that have been the old foes for a long, long time, playing each other, and we all remember the last final that they had, and that was an epic. And I guess there's a hope that it'll be the same, and then you do the maths and you had 3 World Cups each and someone's going to win 4. It's just a special occasion, isn't it? And we've had a few recently. We had the 100th test against them in 2021 over in Townsville, and so there have been a few big tests we've played against these guys. And look, massive regard for each other, and I'm sure Jacques would say the same thing. Massive respect for them as a country, for how they play, and it kind of makes it's a pretty cool week to get ready for.
Meanwhile, the Springboks have also named their team. Bongi Umbanabi has been cleared and selected after World Rugby found insufficient evidence to support a claim by England's Tom Curry that he'd made a discriminatory remark against him in their semi-final last week. I'm sure the team will be happy, Liam, that didn't eventuate into anything else.
This has been a storm that's been swirling the whole week, hasn't it, since the semi-final between the Boks and England. And any time there's any form of racial allegation, it's a big story. But as you mentioned there, it was really hard to prove. There was no audio of what was said, and there's also difficulties with languages, Afrikaans, and what was actually said. But it has been interesting to see the English RFU come out very strongly and criticise World Rugby's decision. So not everyone's happy, but I think for the World Cup final, it's great that Bongi is available.
A lot's been said about South Africa's explosive bench, or as they like to call themselves, the bomb squad. How important is it that the All Blacks counter their impact, given how successful it's been for South Africa this World Cup?
It's a massive talking point going into this game. The Springboks have gone 7 forwards, just as they did at Twickenham a good 2.5 months ago now, when they recorded their record win over the All Blacks. I don't think we're going to see anything like that, but it's a bold move from the Springboks. It's risky because if you get an injury in the back line, you've only got one back reserve on that bench, but they're clearly playing to their strengths. They're going to come hard and fast all night, try and bash and crash their way through the All Blacks and send those 7 forwards on and try and repeat the dose. So there's no secrets how they're going to play, and it's going to be interesting to see, how, as you mentioned, how the All Blacks try and counter that.
Well, we heard from some of the players and coaches from both camps throughout the week, so let's take a quick look back at everything that went down.
There'll certainly be a high level of emotion and intent to start the game, but there always is, and the boys, I think, we've played 2 finals, 2 knockouts, effectively more actually, in a row, so I trust that we're in a good spot there. Boys have done a lot of physical and mental prep, and although it's a final, it is another game where we just have to go out there and trust ourselves and trust ourselves to play good footy. So it's a fine balance, but the team's in a good spot with it.
We don't play for people to respect us. I think we play for each other and we play for South Africa so they can be proud of us. So for us, I think achieving those goals that we set up for ourselves were great. We got another one coming up this weekend, and we just want to play for each other and also play for our country so they can be proud and they can be proud Springbok supporters.
You can't really put into words like to be in a Rugby World Cup final. Obviously, was lucky enough to experience it in 2015 and to come here, and this be my last game in the jersey, and have the opportunity to go out there and potentially win it again. I guess if you want to call it a fairy tale ending or however, but it's definitely beats where we were 4 years ago playing for 3rd and 4th, that's for sure.
When you play against the All Blacks, you always have to be ready, and that's the big game, and especially playing against them in a World Cup final makes it extra special. So it's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be an amazing game on Saturday night, and if you get a chance to play, I hope then I can't wait to express yourself and just leave everything out there with no regrets. I think that's going to be it.
The ruck, I think, has been excellent. They do appear to be a very complete team. I think there's been development in their kicking game, the way they put you under pressure, not only with their passing game, but their ability to also use the ball off their foot. So I would say probably those 2 areas would be key.
I guess in a lot of ways we're just trying to enjoy it, walk towards a challenge. I know it sounds cliche, but we started the tournament pretty slowly and we've gained a wee bit of momentum, but that doesn't guarantee anything. We've said all along this World Cup, the best teams have been the best teams on the night, so it's going to be no different come Saturday.
A lot of history between the All Blacks and the Springboks. Liam, do you feel it's almost fitting that we meet them in the final?
Yeah, it is. This is rugby's greatest rivalry. The Springboks are the All Blacks' greatest foe. As you mentioned, there's so much history going back to '95 and that World Cup. Both teams have won 3 titles each, so this will be the crowning glory, the first team to claim 4, and you'd have to argue the most successful rugby nation in history, but there's a lot of mutual respect, but that all gets set aside come kick-off, and it will be an absolute doozy of an occasion because these 2 teams have earned their right to be there, and they're going to take out the pinnacle crown.
The All Blacks have been through a lot over the past few years. They really have gone from the lowest of lows, and with this game being the last for a number of big players and Ian Foster as well, and I know you followed the team throughout all of that too. What's it been like, I guess, sort of seeing the turnaround for them, and how special will it be for them to really go out on a high?
Yeah, I think this has been a hugely emotive, challenging journey, probably the hardest, certainly, of the professional era for the All Blacks. There was a point last year where they'd lost 6 of 8 tests. They lost at home to Ireland. They changed 2 assistant coaches. The head coach and captain came in for widespread criticism. So those are depths that the All Black team aren't used to trying to navigate, but they have done that. They've rebuilt, they've stuck tight, they've kept the faith, and even in this World Cup, they came into it, lost to the Box pre-tournament, lost their opening game to France, and were still widely written off. So I would go as far to say they'll probably be the most unlikely World Cup champions ever if they can go on and achieve that. And having come through all that adversity, you've got to hand it to them if they can pull it off.
And quite the redemption story it will be. As you can probably see, the rain's starting to set in a little bit here, and we are expected to have a bit of rain on game night too. Do you think that's going to affect the gameplay and the strategy that the teams have?
Not dramatically. The Box will probably keep it fairly tight, really past first 5 anyway. Andre Pollard put up a lot of kicks, and the All Blacks, they'll back their pack. They've had a really strong set piece. They've only lost 2 lineouts in this tournament, the best lineout in the World Cup. Their scrum's going really well, but it does put a bit of pressure on their kicking game, on the high ball receipts. So those will be focal areas, but I don't think it'll change the plans too dramatically. Maybe a few drop goals.
Yeah, true. It'll be a very interesting game for sure. The World Cup final, if you want to watch that, 8 a.m. Sunday morning. You won't want to miss any of the action. You can follow along at nzherald.co.nz, where you'll find our live blog too. You can also listen to live commentary from Elliot Smith on News Talk ZB, Gold Sport and iHeartRadio. Prediction, Liam, got to be the All Blacks, right?
I think so. They've gone to the well and came out the other side, so I think it'll be tight, I think it'll be tense. All Blacks by 3.
Well, I'll let you get out of the rain before it really starts to set in. I'll be back on Sunday morning with the result to unpack everything that happens and all of the reaction. We will see you then on Beyond the Game. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald. Click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here, and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.